Birdland, in true Pigtown fashion, I'm going to try to find a way to make this an okay situation. But I'm still just as pissed off as you.
Pigtown Sport, yeah, we run the O's talk. Best of Baltimore, yeah, you know we don't stop. If you rock with the birds, hit subscribe right now. Orange and black, we leading the crowd.
So, I mean, listen, losing Adley Rutschman, like we talked about Sunday night, for those that have watched that show with Paul and I, signals the end of an era. And that era was one that we expected to be a winning culture in Baltimore. You know, years of having good baseball here with good players. I mean, we saw this core. We saw Jeff Passan talk about it. We talk about Baseball America, MLB Pipeline, you name it. Everybody and their mother was hyping up this core. Gunnar Henderson, Kobe Mayo, Heston Kjerstad. At the time, they had Grayson Rodriguez and DL Hall. You had Adley Rutschman. You had Jackson Holliday on the way, Colton Cowser. They thought that they had it all. And Rutschman was supposed to be the guy who got up on that horse like a shining knight and led us to the promised land for years to come. And it officially comes to a close 7 years later. 7 years later. And it sucks. It really sucks. I mean, you wanted the Orioles. Look, there's no sugarcoat. They fell flat on their face. They fell flat on their face mid-2024. Something happened with this franchise, and they stunk. And they've stunk since. And they have given this core the keys, I mean, arguably for 3 straight years now, and they haven't been able to find a way to win. So Adley Rutschman kind of signals the end of maybe what this core might be, and maybe a new beginning of what it could become. We've seen, and we're going to touch into all the trades here. We're not just talking Adley tonight, but obviously that's the biggest one. It's the biggest one is probably going to drive a wedge in the fan base. It's the biggest one. It's going to make people not renew their, Birdland memberships and whatnot. Adley was the face, and I feel like more people resonated with Adley Rutschman than they did with Gunnar Henderson. And for a bit there, Gunnar was the better player, by far. But with this year and whatnot, Adley was kind of coming back to form a little bit. Obviously, he dropped off big time from 2023. He ran through some injuries and whatnot, but everybody still always loved Adley. And he just had that good face, and he had a good personality and whatnot. But it's all over. And for me, my title tonight, and we'll get right into it, is did the front office kind of give up on 2026? And in a way, yeah. We were promised to have a playoff team, a World Series contender. Last year, David Rubenstein was saying that, we'll be more pleased this year coming up than what happened last year. We heard all the right things as fans. And with 2.5 games out of the wild card, they decided to sell some of their better players. Now, I know there's a love-hate relationship in Birdland with Dean Kremer, and I totally get it. I thought Dean was a great number 5 who had to consistently be used as a 2 and a 3 over his career. Positions that probably weren't the best for him, and at times he got rocked. And not sugarcoating anything, Dean at times I felt like lapsed in his competitiveness against some of the lesser teams that he would face, and he'd get rocked. But when it came time to pitch against the Yankees or in Tampa Bay, or if the division was on the line, or if it was like a must-win game, or wild card, clinching, something like that, Dean Kremer always had the ball, and Dean Kremer delivered. He got his name, Big Game Dean, for a reason. It sucks to lose a guy like that because he was competitive for a while, but you know what? He struggled mightily every single April. He struggled bad in his entire career in the first inning. Now, are these concentration issues? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. But Dean gave us some good quality years. The last remaining standing guy to that Manny Machado trade. The guy they got back, cool. Prospect, great. I'm a little bit over the prospects at this point. I'm very happy with the haul that they got back today. if I was in a position like the Rockies or something. I'd be ecstatic. I mean, I still should be ecstatic, but I'm just over it. Like, I want a winning baseball team in the city of Baltimore, not in Bowie or Frederick. That's where I'm at. And look, at any point when you bring in talent to the organization, I'm going to get excited. It's fun to watch winning baseball grow through the Orioles system. So, like, that part's cool. I just want the Baltimore Orioles to win. No playoff wins in Adley Rutschman's 7-year career. No playoff wins in Mike Elias' career. It's frustrating. It's frustrating, especially when you're 2.5 games out. The AL is completely cooked this year. All these teams are dumping a lot of money into pitching and trades, and I don't see it getting any better this year. The offense is kind of down league-wide in the AL this year. Does anybody really have a chance against the Dodgers? You can sit here and say no all you want, but what was it, in 2024? The Padres took them down to the wire in the NLCS, and then 2025, the Toronto Blue Jays lost by an inch literally twice. Twice. The ball that hit the bottom of the fence that got stuck, if that's 1 inch higher, game's over. And then the stupid play at the plate. So you're looking at a super team that potentially could have lost 2 years in a row. The same damn thing could happen this year. It's why baseball is the greatest sport in the world, man. You never know. You never know. Just get in the damn dance. You never give up. And that's the most frustrating thing to me is 3 days ago, we were told we were going to be buyers and sellers, right? And I thought that was the correct thing to do. I think it was pretty obvious that you sold Taylor Ward. He came here. Anything you got out of Taylor Ward this year was exponentially better than what Grayson Rodriguez could have provided this ball club this year. Even though he was still so bad, it was still so much better. But we're looking at Taylor Ward. I think that was an easy sell, right? And the defense, if he was hitting home runs, I think we all would have been completely fine with the defense being pretty subpar, right? Because he was driving in runs. Wasn't really driving in runs. Walking and getting on base, but he wasn't scoring a ton of runs either because he's not that fast. So, that's an easy thing. Now, Adley was offered some contract extensions. Obviously, as you can see from today, they did not work out. This is the shitty side of baseball, and with it being a business, but that is the correct thing to do, was to trade Adley. I mean, plenty of you, if you have a Twitter, could have read, I didn't think that Adley Rutschman had that much value. I was thinking maybe a top 10 prospect for him. Maybe. Boy. And kind of a funny story, too. Somebody told me with direct knowledge to the information, the Red Sox original offer was Marshall Mayer and 3 non-top 30 prospects. And Mike said, when you're serious, call me back. So kudos to Mike for that. I think that's kind of funny. But either way, I mean, smart business decision, I guess, but not when you're 2.5 games out. Not when you had another year of control. We've watched this baseball team for 2 years now, but and this is a double-edged sword here, but we've watched this baseball team here for 2 years struggle with Adley Rutschman not in the lineup. They can't hit. The pitching still has been okay. But you just decided to say, screw it. We're going to ship him out. Now, obviously, you get way better return with a year control compared to if he was, a rental. That's the double-edged sword. If you didn't want to be here, get what you can while you can kind of thing. But he doesn't help you. This package here doesn't help you become a better baseball team in 2027. That's where I get frustrated. I want 2027 to be a year where they go after it. Legitimately, right? Now, talk about the core again. You had, they brought in Pete. They tried to bring in Alonso. I thought Tavares played well this year, but they've brought in pieces. Tyler O'Neill, obviously he's struggled for the greater bit of the whole time he's been here. But they've tried to bring in pieces to help the core. They still can't hit. Now, Adley Rutschman was a part of this core that couldn't hit when it mattered. So, again, that's your double-edged sword here. I don't like the fact that we gave up with 2.5 games out of the wild card. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like it because now you're not as good of a baseball team. If you brought the same roster back into 2027, you're not as good of a baseball team, defensively or offensively. Now, Tavares, whatever. He's fine, I guess. He's more of a defender than an offender. He's had a little bit of home run pop, but, I don't know. To me, if you were going to get to this point, why not just sell more of the core that has struggled? I've said it before. I thought Colton Cowser had a lot of value in this league, and I know most of this fan base does not like him. But when you have a borderline elite center fielder in a very weak center field league right now, I think teams were jumping at the bit to try and get their hands on, try to fix him offensively. But he's a guy that has failed in this group. I would have tried to move him if you truly planned on selling like they did today. Tyler Wells. Let's just go over all of it.
Pigtown Sport.
Oh, crap. My bad. Where am I going here? Here. Players out right now. Dean Kremer, Adley Rutschman, Jake Rogers. We spent about, a week here. Taylor Ward, Tyler Wells, and I don't even know who Joey Glasney is. I'm sorry, Joey. Tyler Wells. I think Tyler Wells is probably the biggest head scratcher. Honestly. Why would you trade your closer? Successful one right now with a year control. Why? Now, again, double-edged sword here. I said the same thing about Cade Stroud last year. Why would you trade bullpen help when bullpen's one of your biggest weaknesses? Blaze Alexander comes up and shoves that right up my butt, huh? Great ball player. Completely glad to have him on the team. Now, you do reacquire Michael Ferret, who was a favorite here in Baltimore and one of the higher-ranking pitchers. It's still a head-scratcher to me. Now, guy throws 93 miles an hour. You're asking yourself, how is he effective as a closer when most guys are throwing close to 100? I can't answer that question for you, but it has been effective. But again, I hold my judgment on the Wells thing other than that makes no sense because of what happened with Cade Stroud. I don't know. Bullpen has been an issue with this team all year, and to subtract from it and not be Andrew Kittredge was weird. Like, he's a rental. He's leaving. I don't know. I mean, cool. Getting back Michael Ferret is nice. These are what has come in. I'm not even going to try and pronounce Reyes' first name because I don't want to butcher it and disrespect him like that. But they bring in Reyes from the Twins. Obviously, people talk pretty highly about this guy. Potentially, Baseball America talked about putting him in the top 100 in this in the offseason. Cool. Like, I'm happy. Again, when he's ready to help the big league team, I'm glad he's in our system. Doesn't help me in 2027. Christian Franklin, the only acquisition the Orioles made. Now, when I said that, I think they made like 2 cash consideration minor league deals right after this. Reese Lewis from Miami. I can't remember his name. He played a couple years in Cincinnati. Was with Miami. Anyway, that was the only couple acquisitions were minor league outfielders. And then at the very end, before I hopped on here, I seen that they got a relief pitcher from, I don't remember. But anyway, like they did 2.5 games out, and we were told that they were buyers and sellers, and their only acquisitions were minor league outfielders for cash considerations. Which doesn't make sense to me because you have a 40-man roster crunch coming up. Now, could these guys be DFA'd, try to slide them through, keep them around? More than likely. It's either way. I just thought it was kind of dumb. Alex Hoppe, he's in the big leagues right now as a rookie, struggling a little bit, close to a 6 ERA, but does have a pretty live arm, sits around 98 with 21 career saves in the minor leagues. The reason why I won't complain about this trade very much, Hoppy, Brock Moore, and Harrison Krelling. All three are bullpen guys, and this team needs bullpen. And they need velocity. And Brock Moore runs it up 96, 97. And Harrison Krelling, I haven't been able to get an exact reading of what he can throw. But from some of the videos that I've seen on Twitter, his slider is just downright stupid. But either way, Hoppy probably makes the big league roster, I would say, within a week or two, if not right away. Brock Moore, I would say we probably see at some point this season as well. And then, Krelling, I think, is a guy that is going to move up in due time. I like that trade. And at first I'm like, I'm thinking Taylor Ward probably was worth way more than just some unranked prospects. And then I got to thinking, like, do we just need to just gather a bunch of crap? Or should we finally go after things that we can identify that we need and just bring them in? And what was the need for this team for years? Controllable bullpen arms with velocity. So if they think they can get something out of these guys, and I will say that it seems kind of odd, but I also like it better. They are on the older end. I think Brock Moore is 26. Hoppy, I believe, is 24, 25. I like that because you don't have to let that maturity stage mentally and physically in the baseball world. They're closer to it than a 22 or 23-year-old that's doing really well in AAA. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to deal with like a Brian Bello or something like that, who's going to come up and do well and then struggle, or an Anthony Nunez. They've got that mental maturity hopefully already there. And be honest with you, most guys that are hitting 27, 28, that's about the peak of their pitching career when they really start to take off. So getting a little bit closer to that may not be a bad thing. But the big thing is just it's controllable bullpen arms. You don't have to worry about every offseason going out there and having to find 2, 3, 4 more bullpen arms every single year because you finally have a couple guys that might be under control if they pan out. So once I kind of settled down a little bit, I thought the Taylor Ward trade was probably pretty fine. The big one, obviously, with Adley, Anthony Ianson, he's already the organization's number one prospect. He was top 50 overall. That's nice. We haven't really had somebody kind of pop off the charts like that since Grayson Rodriguez. And pitching, obviously, it's the hardest thing to find. It's the hardest thing to develop. So bringing somebody else here and allowing, and honestly nestling in there between Joe D and Hunter too, it kind of gets you a little bit excited for what the pitching has come. And then you already got 3 guys that are under team control for multiple seasons. So the pitching front looks nice, and I like that. And then you go back and add Witherspoon. Witherspoon is supposed to be pretty good. And Michael Ferret is a guy that we already know who's going to be pretty good. One of those two, Witherspoon or Ferret, may transition to a bullpen arm. Either way, you still have controllable arms again in the bullpen. But it seems like for an organization that only drafted hitting for a while and kind of ignored pitching, the last 2 years has completely flipped their entire philosophy about pitching. And now they're almost leading as a pitching-first organization. And double-edged sword again. I'm full of those tonight. It's also why they kind of suck at hitting right now. Like, they just can't score runs when it matters. They score them in bunches at times. But we'll see. Andy Azokar, I don't know a whole lot about that guy. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do. Carlos Naves or whatever. He had a better season than Adley last year. Had 15 home runs, I believe. Hit like 250, I believe. I don't remember, but he's still young. He's like 26. He's supposed to be defensive first. which, I mean, listen, if you're going to flip your script and go and be a pitching first organization, that is great. It almost feels like kind of baseball. And I was actually texting Joe Singley about this earlier. And he asked me about, we kind of laughed about how the Rays are just kind of collecting all of his guys from Coastal Carolina now. Because they just brought in Hicks as well. And I was like, dude, the Rays strike me as a team that are going back to old school where, sorry, you're strong up the middle. They have a defensive first shortstop. They have a defensive first center fielder, and now they're going all in on catchers that are pretty good defensively. You know, Bodine can hit the ball pretty damn well. But it almost seems like maybe the Orioles might want to try to do that too. You know? Which is good. I mean, you need defensive first catchers because defense wins ball games. And you know, we're leading the we're leading the league this year in unearned runs. So maybe getting a little bit more defense here is not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. I'm trying to make light of this as much as I can because I'm not happy. I wanted the 2026 Orioles to try to make a run. And if they gave their all and they still didn't make it, but they tried to acquire guys and they went after it, I think I'd have been okay. Because they tried. Doing what they did today, and I've talked about this before with Paul, and I have no insight on this whatsoever. This is just my personal opinion. I don't know of a GM in baseball. Now, granted, I'm only 37 years old, right? I haven't been around forever. But I don't know of another GM in baseball that's made it through 2 sell-offs. Now, was today 1,000% a sell-off? No, but it was pretty damn close. But either way, think about it. No matter how old you are, has any GM ever made it through 1.5? We'll call it 1.5 to 2 sell-offs. Let alone be a seller 6 out of the 8 years they've been here and still be around. At what point do we finally just get a go for it moment? 2023, 2024 was it. And what do we get? Fujinami and Jack Flaherty. Now, I like Jack Flaherty at the time. I thought his career track record would have been pretty good here. Fujinami, obviously big time arm. Would have been fun if they figured that out. Would have been fun. I just want to see a winning baseball team. Now, I've never missed a playoff game since 2012. The few that they've been, I've been at every single one of them. And they've scored, 4 runs? Outside of that one explosion against Texas. But against, Kansas City and then those 2 games in Texas, it was just a couple runs, right? Offense has consistently been the problem. It's tough, man. It's tough. Somebody asked, do I see them pushing harder to sign Trevor Rogers to a deal now? You damn well should. And let's get into that here because you didn't trade everybody. Again, like I said, I thought Cowser would have been a great trade piece. If you really wanted to kind of reset, Kittredge would have been great. I didn't want Trevor Rogers to leave. I really didn't. And this is another double-edged sword. This gives you an opportunity to still extend him. But the qualifying offer, I feel like to them, means more than a prospect they would have gotten back. Because they get to pick their guy. They potentially get to trade that pick if somebody else were to sign him. They wanted the pick, flat out, in my opinion. I hope they extend him. Think here for a second. You have Bradish, Rogers, Boz, and then who am I forgetting? Why am I forgetting somebody? Either way, then you have Joe D, You've got Anthony. You've got Hunter. You still got Gibson. Brandon Young, I'm sorry. You got Brandon Young for a while. And you still got Hunter and you still got Gibson. You've got a pretty darn good staff where you don't have to rush some of these guys. But they can come in on a doubleheader day and give you some quality innings. You can leave them in AAA for a bit. You can flip them for a better player when you go for a run. But if you extend Trevor Rogers, you're in a real good spot with this baseball club. Really good spot. It's still, I think, when you look down through the whole system, they don't have much offense at all. At all. Will ND Azokar work for us? Maybe. But I mean, like, Bowie's got some talent right now with Aloy. Irish would have been there. Would have been nice. Ethan Anderson's got some pop. Creed Williams has got some pop. You got Aaron Estrada, who I think is the organization's best international prospect right now. There's some guys there. The D is silent for Zerwa. I'm just calling him Joe D. I think Joe D sounds awesome. It's like Joe Dirt. But the offense just still isn't there. So again, you have to go into the offseason here and try to figure out what the hell you're doing. You got to figure out what the hell you're doing. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. They're going to have to, you have to try and outbid some of these teams again. Now, it works for Pete, but if they bring Mike back, let's think about this for a minute. If they bring Mike back, right? They gave Pete this spiel. Pete Alonso didn't pick here to sell, right? They gave him a spiel about how they were going to win. They laid out a plan of how they're going to win. Worked. It was great. How confident are you that their plan to lay this out again for somebody else will be believed this time? Because the first year, they went and sold 2.5 games out of the wild card. Sold some guys. How do you convince somebody like that to say, hey, like, come over here. We're building something special. You can't, because you kind of took the easy way out here and dumped some of your better players with control. And you didn't get anything back that's ready to rock and roll right now or next year, unless, they have some crazy end to the season. How do you find a way to make anything better? How are you finding a way to convince somebody? You showed no confidence in the guys that are here, in my opinion. Now, you can come back out and say, like, oh, we've got full confidence in our guys here. We think these guys here can still go make the playoffs. How? Who's closing a baseball game? Cano? I mean, we've seen him try to close in his career. I thought he's a great relief guy. I don't think he's a closer. Kittredge? Yeah. Score some runs. Maybe 5, 6 a night. You ain't got to worry about it. I don't know. It's, and you guys know me. I'm about as positive as it gets when it comes to the organization. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say that I have relationships with anybody on the team or in the front office or anything like that. I do get some stuff, obviously, so I don't want to sit out here and just be like, this guy sucks, fire this guy, blah, 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 blah. You think I'm getting that kind of stuff if I do that? No. Like, you have to keep a level of professionalism when you talk about some of this stuff. And it's hard to do because I share the same frustrations as you guys. But I have to kind of keep it civil, if you know what I mean. God damn, I want to win a baseball club. You're 2.5 out, man. And I put that more on the players than anything. Has Craig Albanez lost some games this year? Sure. Has not having a competent bullpen lost some games this year? Sure. But the offense, whether that be an issue with philosophy or something, they're not getting it done. They're not getting it done. And they're losing baseball games because they're not scoring enough runs. And you can look at it and you say, oh, they're averaging, 4.5 runs a game, which is typically usually pretty good. But we all kind of know these guys don't score them consistently enough. Because they'll score 10 one night and then 0 for the next 2 nights. Or they'll score 8 one night or 9 one night and then 4 or 5 the next night when they lose and then 0. But then you're looking at a 3-game series. You're like, oh, man, they scored 14 runs in 3 games. Like, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's above a 4 runs a game average. Well, most of it came in one night. Or they'll score 6 runs in the first inning and then not score again and win like 6-5 or lose. They don't lose that often when they do that, but it's the little things. They don't know how to capitalize and bury a team. I don't see that getting any better now that you got rid of some of these players. And it sucks. It sucks. Let's get into some of you guys' comments. Holy crap, there's a bunch. Sean says, I honestly don't think this deadline says he gives up. It not fully say that he gave up, but you didn't try to go make the team any better. And to me, that says you gave up. You had an opportunity to either make 2026 better or 2027 better. Not 2028, not 2029, like 26 and 27. There was an opportunity here to go and get guys, just like Toronto did, that are going to help you be better next year. And we failed. We failed to acquire anybody that can help do that. They're not a good team. That's why they need to restructure before we can be worthy of any. And listen, I full-heartedly agree with this. And that's why I was saying, if you were going to do what you did today, selling off Tyler Wells, why not keep it going into the core that hasn't been able to hit for 3 years? There was value there in some of these guys, and I know you like them, and I know that, and I know that I love Cowser, and I'm probably one of the only people that still love Cowser. There's value there, and I know that center field is so terrible around the league. Nothing's coming out in free agency. You don't really have anything available to help you in 2027 down in the minors. Not without going through more growing pains. I get it. But you had an opportunity to upgrade from a core that has struggled here. And I think it's fair to say that Cowser has really struggled. But I really think that he would go elsewhere and absolutely tear the cover off the ball. And I hate to even admit that, but I did. Same guy says kudos to the Dodgers. Yes, I love everything the Dodgers do. Absolutely everything they do. And they did it right. They did it right before the money came. This is a team that filed for bankruptcy. But their system was so good, they were able to trade for Mookie Betts. And Mookie changed everything for them. Absolutely everything. Actually, trading Puig and all them for Homer Bailey and all to Cincinnati, that was a big thing for them. That was what kind of got it started. But having the prospects to trade and land Mookie Betts is what kick-started everything for the Dodgers. Everything. Because Mookie brought in money, right? They played their cards right. They won some baseball games. Mookie brought them in money. Freddie Freeman, they invested this money that they didn't have just yet. They invested it into Freddie Freeman because he was a great ball player. Now they start raking in the money. Right? They're winning more baseball games. They're winning playoff games. They're getting these TV deals. Now, granted, this TV deal has screwed everybody else in baseball, but at the time they didn't have it. And they got Freddie Freeman, and then they invested in Ohtani, where they had the money to pay Ohtani 1 year, but they invested him in some lucrative contract, and they did it smart and deferred contracts. And they went way overboard with it, but this was the first one that really got the ball rolling here. And it was great for Ohtani, and it's great for the Dodgers. The Dodgers don't have to pay taxes on it in California right now. And Ohtani doesn't have to pay taxes when he goes back to Japan and gets all that money in a few years. No U.S. tax there. It needs to be awesome for him, especially no California tax. Ohtani's going to rake in the money. It's perfect for him. But on the flip side, the $1 billion they have in deferred money, we kind of all have seen how California has kind of gone off the rockers a little bit. Their taxes could go astronomical over the next 10 years, and that could re-bankrupt this baseball team. Could re-bankrupt them because they're not fully prepared for it. But I mean, that's enough of the Dodgers. Jack says Elias and Rubenstein just totally disrespected the fans. It hurts, man. The seat should be empty for me. I agree. They sold us on what we were going to get, and we didn't get it. And I do agree that, again, double-edged sword, but I do agree that we should not entertain games. But if you do that, they're not going to spend money. Again, double-edged sword. It sucks. But I don't think that it should be shown to them that it's okay to tell us we're going to expect a playoff team, to expect a wild card team, to expect something, and then not go for it 2.5 games out. Whether you think you had a shot or not, you told us one thing. You got to stick to your guns and go for it. That's where I'm mad about. Yeah, I did see that. So Mike Elias did say that they are still playing for the postseason this season. They're not. They were already struggling to score runs, and you didn't bring anybody in whatsoever offensively to help you out. They're not playing for the postseason. I'm not saying that I don't fully have confidence in the guys that are there right now, mainly because they've struggled to score runs. And the one bright spot was Adley Rutschman. Another bright spot would have been to bring in another capable major leaguer outfielder. You didn't. So, I don't know. Unless they can all figure out how to hit a lot over the next 24 hours, 48 hours, they're not playing for the postseason this year. Last week we claimed to be buyers. Exactly, man. Exactly. Yeah. It's no different than injuries, man. They'll tell you one thing and it's completely different. I don't like it. Fans didn't see this coming. They were being realistic about this team. Yes, it hurts to say goodbye to Adley, but it is what it is. And yeah, I think most people were realistic, but they still didn't want it to happen. You're 2.5 games out. Like, it didn't have to happen. 2027, you have a pretty solid pitching staff that's really performing right now. You had Pete Alonso coming back. You were hoping Gunnar Henderson would return to form. You didn't have to do it. There was nobody holding a gun to your head and saying, yeah, you got no shot for the next 2 years. No, I mean, there's always a shot. Every year in baseball, there's always a shot. They chose to sell certain players with control, I should say. And I don't believe they should have. I know everyone's sad and hurt, but you ought to have been more upset if Elias went all in this first year manager with the first year. Yeah. No, I would have, because you always take a shot because it's just experience. Like what if they won a playoff game this year? What if they snuck in, and what if they won a wild card game? That night the Bats decide to put up 10 runs. They won a wild card game. They sneak away and find a way to win an ALDS somehow. Experience. You're going into 2027 feeling a hell of a lot better than you are right now. I'd take that any day of the week, man. Any day of the week, because you'd never know how the baseball is going to roll. You just never know. It sucks. Let me keep going through some of these. At our current catcher situation, either Adley or Basayo are everyday catchers, and that's the other thing is Basayo. I don't think they want Basayo behind the plate 100+ times a year. I don't. I think they're content with him about 60. They want that boy to swing the bat, and that's it. They want him to drive the baseball. And right now he may have to take the load on as a catcher. I don't know. I think the bat suffers a little bit because of that. Raphael says we need Henderson to get the next step. Westberg to get back on the form. Holiday be the star they're waiting for. Cowsey to be a very good regular everyday player, and Pete to keep doing his things. That goes back to my comments about the core. They've had free reins of this now, granted with injuries, but they have struggled to win when it matters. And I'm guessing you're turning it back over to them again next year and praying for the best. We'll see how it works. We will see how it works. Sean says, Einstein, Zerwa, Hunter, German, and possibly Witherspoon will be a great rotation in Bowie, and at least 3 of them will be in Norfolk soon. Possibly. People likely be sold the whole team. The only trade the one that was actually hurting was Wells, and I can still live in the parting with a bullpen arm. Like I said, double-edged sword for me. I just didn't understand it. Like you had a successful closer, and you were supposed to be going for it. Supposed to be. And I think that's where people are mad. Is like, hello, but then I think I don't think people are too worried about the selling. It was more of the lack of buying. We were told we were going to be buyers and sellers. It was more the lack of buying. You bought a AAA outfielder, and that was it. But you told us that you still think that this team can make it to playoffs. Okay. That's how I feel about it. We had the best pitching pipeline in baseball. We might. Still got to score base. You still got to score runs. I really like Adley. We got Basayo under contract. Can't pay everybody who wasn't re-signing. I'm more pissed we got nothing to help this year. That's how I feel. That's more how I feel. Nothing that helps them right now or even next year. So you kind of have to get back into the offseason and pray. Mike should try again to get Rodgers an extension. They don't change Trevor means something. Maybe, but it could just mean a draft pick. Basayo DH most 5 days a week is too big. Exactly. Ethan might be in Norfolk soon. I'm not sure. They don't really have anywhere to put Creed, so I don't know. Tyler Wells sold from a weakness. We needed bullpen help. We needed a bat and bullpen. We got more prospects to look forward to years from now. If I was Pete and Gunnar, I'd be pissed. I think you hit the nail on the head on that one. Did they regret including Ferret in the Boz deal? I don't know. Maybe. I wouldn't regret too much of the Boz deal at all. I think Shane Boz has been really good for us. I would do that deal again. Cool. These guys are playing well in the minors. Shane Boz is obviously not winning games because we can't score runs for him, but he's giving you consistent quality starts more times than not. We were starving for that for almost 2 years. So I'd do that all over again. Carlos Navarez can handle a large workload behind the plate, more dependable than Adley, to be honest. The health aside, sign me up for health. Your best ability is your availability, right? I'm sick of the clowns that love prospects. What has it gotten this team so far? 0 wins. They're fun. They're fun to keep up with and whatnot. And look, if you're near Frederick or Chesapeake, which is Bowie, Delmarva, like it is fun to go watch these games. And I encourage you to go watch some of these games and support the minor league system. It is fun to watch these guys. Is it Major League Baseball? No. But it is fun to see a guy like me 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? Or was it last year? I don't remember. I went to a Bay Sox game with a buddy of mine, and we're sitting there watching, and all of a sudden I hear, okay, who was that? That was Levi Wells, right? Well, Levi Wells is now ingrained in my brain before he ever started climbing up the top 30 list, right? Because I just saw 97, 98 just goes right into Cree Williams' glove. And then I watched the slider, and I'm like, okay, this kid's going places. So it's cool to see that stuff. I encourage you, if you're close, to just go, especially now. I mean, I know everybody's pretty mad at the O's, but there's a lot of talent in the minors, and I know nobody cares about that, but it is still cool to go watch good, talented players play, the game of baseball. So just try it one time if you've never done it. That's all I say. Let's see. Adley had to go, Zach, and since it was a seller's market, that era lasted two years. You ain't lying. It didn't last very long. Said before, if Elias sold 2 years in a row with this team, he's probably fired, and that was the case. This is probably the best case scenario since we didn't give up too much. I would still consider this a sell for the mere fact that you didn't acquire anything. What you can't say you tried to buy. You can't say you tried to make the team better, the major league team better, because you didn't try to bring anything in. What time are we meeting at the warehouse with pitchforks? I'm not sure. All right, let me skip through some of these. Because I'm trying to get off here. Excuse me, Orioles legend Jake Rogers. My bad. Purple says Navarro's had a better season than Adley last year. Well, I mean, that's nice to see. Friends of Red Sox fans, he wouldn't have traded Adley for Navarro straight up 1-for-1 before the prospects. I mean, he's young. He's got a lot to learn, though. But, I mean, he might be pretty decent. I don't know. Rick said, Tyler Wells is the one that sent me over the top. Who's the closer now? I guess Cano or Kittredge. I don't know. I really don't know. Let's see. I like this comment. The question isn't whether you can make the playoffs, because a 500 team might make the playoffs. The question is whether this team is good enough to even win a championship. We all know that answer. While I fully agree with you. I want to see a team win a playoff game in a series. And because I think, especially the team this year, if they would have snuck in and won a game, going into 2027, the team feels better, the front office feels better, and the fans feel better about the direction that they're going in. Now, 2 years in a row, we're going to the offseason, and we'll get excited about stuff, but I think deep down, we're going to have PTSD for a while. Again. So it's more of the direction that you just want to see your team move in a positive direction. Not acquiring anybody doesn't strike me as they're moving in a positive direction, in my opinion. Orioles haven't been 500 since April 28th. That tells you all you need to know. Elias didn't buy. He lied. Yep. Yeah, this is what we talked about. Adley was a franchise-altering player with a young core all the MLB should drool over, as I was told. Now you read about them in trade rumors. Yep. Will we see Kjerstad this year? Good question, man. It's a good question. I don't know. 6 of 8 years of Sellers is gross. And now we can't hit, and we need hitters. Yep. Orioles have been Sellers 30 of the last 40 years over multiple GMs. That's a shame, isn't it? It's a shame. Let me get down to the bottom here because I can just hear this going off and I'm crazy and not being able to read it. Bob says, I'm not upset at all. Adley didn't want to be here or he would have signed his extension. Better to trade him to get nothing at all. And this is where baseball's changes. Guys used to just be able to walk and they just hit the free agent market. And like here and there, you would trade some big guys, but for the most part, like some guys just walked. Like you just got what you had out of them. And then that was kind of it. A lot of guys, would turn down their qualifying offer. Teams would get their comp picks. It's not like that anymore. Everybody wants to get something before they get nothing. So when you even get remotely close to free agency now, like you're popping up in trade rumors. It's crazy. Are the Orioles done with the blondes? They're definitely diversifying the minors. They might be. They're going after brunettes now. Wasn't that long ago a shitty Rangers team went to the World Series, got in and see what happens. Right. Sometimes that's all it takes, man. That's all it takes is just getting in. Chuck T says, Orioles fan PTSD. We should make a t-shirt about that because I don't think that's going away for a couple of years. Fans of Sports Card says, when is Gunners gone? They are not re-signing him. I think, 2 more years. Gunners, 2 more years. Yep. My next jersey would be on the back say PTSD. It could say Pick Down Sports. No, I'm just kidding. I think I've seen a few of those. To be honest with you, I've seen a few of those at the stadium before. I believe sometimes they're asked to take them off. Not all the time, but sometimes you might see a few more going forward here. If we face the Red Sox in the wild card playoff series, you will see Adley be happy watching us win that series. I don't know. Oh man, that's tough. The Adley debut poster I got from Ken Yards is just depressing. Now, see that stuff, I'd hang on to that. It's still kind of cool though. My entire bobblehead collection be former Orioles soon enough. Dude, that hits hard right there. That hits hard. Chris Davis, Santander, Jordan Westberg probably, Adley Rutschman, Gunner, I'm sure. Yeah. Even when Mike Elias did buy, it wasn't for any big names. It was for Eloy Jimenez. Mike thought that would help out the hitting. He ain't wrong. Who's the NFL team equivalent to the Orioles? A team that just that rarely is the worst in the league, but tend to finish it. I would say the Cardinals. They always think you're going to be pretty good, and then you're just not. I don't know. Definitely the Cardinals. Let's go. Those are blasts from the past right here. Thank God I rock a TJ McFarland and Craig Gentry team issued jersey. Craig Gentry. God, you want to talk about a guy who was supposed to be really good in this league. Played a while, but he was supposed to be really good. I have 7 Adley bobbleheads. That's awesome. I wore my Rutschman jersey for the last time. It's still sitting in the dryer. I haven't taken it out. Don't plan to for a while. I have questions about that. Are we not using the dryer for a while, or are we just putting the jersey somewhere else? Does EBJ or Heston replaces Ward's spot? Dude, who knows? EBJ is not even on the 40-man, so that's a probable no. Franklin probably has a better shot than EBJ. Heston, maybe. I don't know. They need to see what Bradfield has before they Rule 5 protect him, honestly. But I don't know. The Ravens are definitely the Phillies of the NFL. Supposed to be good. I think that's what you're talking about at least. Yeah. John says, well, we didn't have much pitching in the minors, but after last year, we got some arms now. Hopefully some pan out. Yeah, for sure. That you would hope so. You would really hope so. Hides and Grass says, Bay Sox are home this week. Check out the new bar rail seating. I'm thinking about going down tomorrow. My buddy Stefan's been trying to get me to go down. I might be going down tomorrow. I want to see Eloy. I want to see Hunter pitch. Caden Hunter's pitching tomorrow. So if you guys are close to Bowie, man, I'd get down there and watch. They got a good team, man. Cardinals are spot on. They drafted Rosen, then gave up him, and then drafted Murray while trading Rosen for pennies, and then they got rid of Murray too. And now what are they? Jacoby Brissett now. Like, yeah, we're definitely the Cardinals. Does the trade demoralize the team and make them fall flat on their face, or does it make them have more fight? Last time I made them fall on their face. This time I'm hoping they have a little bit more fight. Now, last year, I felt like they responded accordingly last year. I thought they played much better last year once they made some of these trades. But you saw younger guys get more consistent playing time. Maybe that's the case again. I don't know. Maybe Gunner now decides like, okay, the pressure's off. Like we kind of tanked, and maybe Gunner will explode now. I don't know. Saw Eloy in Greenville with the keys. He's different. I mean, that's always nice to hear. Wayman says, thoughts on the return for Ward? Do you think his team brass was not giving him a qualifying offer? I don't think Taylor Ward he would have accepted the qualifying offer. He's not getting 20-some million. 22, I think, is the qualifying offer this year. He's not getting 22 million in the open market. He would have taken that. So they wouldn't have gotten a draft pick, and I don't think they wanted him for $20-some million. We talked about it early in the show. I think when I first looked at it, I seen 0 top 30 prospects, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I was expecting Ward to have a little bit of value. The more I dove into these guys, they're hard-throwing bullpen arms, and they're a little bit older. So they're closer to that mental maturity age and closer to that peak performance that you see some of these arms at. I think that it's not bad. It's not bad. Hoppy has the ability to run it up 98 plus. Brock Moore was throwing it 96, 97. Had some pretty good movement, it looked like. And then Kressingler, I probably just said that name wrong, looked pretty good. I didn't get any velo readings on him, but the slider looked really nice. Really nice. But I don't know. Take the Bay Sox dugout cam operator, a couple hot dogs Wednesday night. If I'm there, I'll come down. I'll bring a hot dog down. My buddy wants to go watch Caden Hunter. It's the same guy I go with all the time. So I might get down. We'll just have to see. Weather's not looking too great tomorrow, though. That's interesting. I was the best man at Alex Hoppy's wedding. Am I saying his name right? Played college baseball with him. Stuff isn't an issue. It's command. And that I feel like that's most of the guys, though, in the minors. They all just have an issue throwing strikes. And I don't know if that's the ball. I don't know if it's just bad umpires. I don't know if it's just working on things. But I feel like most of the guys, at least in our system, just have trouble throwing strikes. But, I mean, obviously he had a little bit of trouble throwing strikes in Seattle. But Drew French has done well with guys that have come in from other organizations. So we'll see how that works. Hoppy's 97, 99, touches 101, sliders his pitch. Exactly. This organization lacked velocity and it lacked bullpen arms. So I was happy with that. And you get what, 5 years control, 6 years control out of him? Huh. Rockies are signing Mickey Moniak to a 2-year deal. Hoppy's fit looked super good. It was okay. Yeah, it was pretty decent. Who the hell is pitching tomorrow? Good question. Who just pitched last? Bradish? Yeah, Bradish came out, said it would be what? Rogers? Should be Rogers, right? If we stayed in the same rotation. And then Boz. And then, because you don't need Dean Kremer spots at the 8th, right? Send this guy some thumbs up, folks. Thanks for running the post-trade deadline stream. Definitely. So I think tonight, let me double check here. Yeah, tonight, I'm going on with Glenn Clark. I believe at 10:05. And I'm not sure. He just tagged me in it on Twitter here. But it's for WBAL radio tonight. They may not be airing it till 11 p.m. It's going to go on 1090 a.m. and then 101.5 FM. But we are going to talk. I guess I'm talking with him at 10:05. So it's probably going to be a recorded segment on WBAL at least. But if you're awake, I'll be there chatting with him tonight, going over this same kind of crap that we just talked about here tonight. So, but if, I am going to hop off. I got to put my kids to bed. The wife actually let me jump on here tonight. So kudos to my wife. Thank you very much. But I appreciate every one of you guys that hopped in here. We have 178 of you on YouTube. I love you guys. I love every one of you guys. Don't forget to smash the like button. 599 of you guys on Twitter. Love every one of you guys. It's a blast to talk baseball with you guys. Negative or positive, it's still a blast for me to just sit down and talk baseball. And you know me, I try to be as positive as possible or find a way to be positive, but it is what it is. Maybe the Orioles catch fire here. Maybe some of the tensions come off a little bit and they can just relax and play baseball. Would be awesome. And maybe Sunday night, on Paul and I show, we come back and we have something positive to talk about. Maybe they go on a little bit of run here. Maybe. Rest assured, if I'm able to get down to the Bay Sox game tomorrow, I will be having lots of updates on Twitter. So if you don't follow me on Twitter, same name, Pigtown Sports, I'll probably have a little bit of some pictures. I'll take some videos and whatnot. I'm going to try and give you guys some rundown on Aloy, what I'm seeing in person, Hunter, if Anderson's catching, all the good stuff. And my favorite player, Andrew Estrada. I catch a lot of flack for that, but he's my favorite player in the entire organization. So I love watching him go play. So, but if I'm there, follow me on Twitter. I'll give you guys a breakdown of what's going on in the game. But if not, I'll see you Sunday night. See ya.